Now, there's high drama, we should note, in New York City. You're looking at live pictures of the standoff between a protester and police at the Statue of Liberty. Police have made their way to where the protester is on the Statue of Liberty. We are told by our Bryn Gingras there in New York that this protester has said she is not coming down until all of the children are released from the Trump administration's detention facilities. You can see the police are up there on the Statue of Liberty right now, and just a few moments ago they were very close to this protester, and then she moved away around the side of the statue there. You're looking at that right now. You're looking at live pictures, but it appears these police officers, these rescuers, have had enough of this, and they're starting to make their way over to the protester. Obviously, as we were talking about this earlier with Phil Mudd and Evan Perez and Bryn Gingras, this is a very risky rescue operation that's unfolding on this 4th of July. But this protester, according to our Bryn Gingras, and she's just reporting this according to an NYPD source in the last few minutes, this protester has said because of the president's immigration policies, because of these children who have been separated from their parents, sometimes locked in cage-like jail cells, that this protester is saying she is not going to come down until all of the children are released. Now, she has been up there around 3 hours now. She is associated with a group that is telling reporters that they did not intend to climb the Statue of Liberty. But obviously, as you can see here, these police officers are trying to make their way over to the protester. But as they're making their way to her, she is trying to climb higher onto the Statue of Liberty, which is obviously a very dangerous thing to do. She may have a very valid point when it comes to what's going on with those children on the border. But as we're hearing from our experts and people who are up to speed on these kinds of rescue operations, this is not only a very dangerous thing to do for the protester, it's a very risky thing for these law enforcement officers. You can see these rescuers right now. They have some harnessing equipment attached to their backs. That is apparently there. It seems to be there just in case they fall off. So this is an extremely dangerous operation, very high risk, unfolding on the 4th of July in some pretty hot temperatures in New York City. Liberty Island, as all of this is going on, has been evacuated, and we're watching this right now to see if these police officers can make their way around the statue to get a hold of this protester before she loses her grip and falls off of the Statue of Liberty, which obviously we don't want to see that happen. As much as people might disagree with how she's trying to get her point across, we don't want anybody to get hurt, not on Lady Liberty, not on the 4th of July. And Phil Mudd is sitting down with us. Phil, this has obviously taken a turn here in the last several minutes. We had not seen up until this point the police officers, and you can see that harnessing equipment attached to them, make their way onto the statue to try to pull this protester down. But this protester seems very determined to continue this protest against the president's immigration policy.
Sure, but let's look at a couple of other characteristics here. First, if you looked at the photos we've had on, the live photos all the past couple hours, there's a lot of officers at risk here. How long do you want them up there at risk? The second is this individual herself. How confident are you going to be that if she sits up there another half hour, she's not going to miss steps? So this is not all about the officers being aggressive. This is also about public safety issues. One last issue. It's 6:30 at night here on the East Coast. You go into 7:30, 8:30 at night. Do you want to be doing this in the dark?
No, it's going to get more dangerous.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out how to close.
And you've got a fireworks celebration that's going to be.
Yeah.
And it looks like the protester right now, she's taking her shoes and socks off. We're not exactly sure why. My guess is to get a better grip. She thinks she's going to get a better grip on the side of the statue, Phil Mudd? Is that what we're seeing?
That's
it's hard
what
to tell.
I'm seeing. And going back to a point I made a moment ago, the officers engaging with this individual have a sense of what her mental state is and whether, if they continue to engage her, she's likely to break down in the next 15, 20, 30 minutes. If their assessment is no, at some point they've got to engage her because they can't be doing this at nighttime.
And this has just been developing the last few minutes, Phil Mudd. Before they had those ladders there, it seemed as if, as you were saying earlier on this program, they were trying to empathize with her, try to talk her down, try to talk her out of this. But they've moved onto the statue now. They've obviously run out of patience with this situation. Our Bryn Gingras is joining us live in New York. Bryn, as you're watching this unfold, it does appear that the NYPD has said enough is enough. It's time for this
Right.
lady, no matter what her cause is, what her protest is about, she's got to come down.
Yeah, that's right, Jim. That's what I was told from a source, that a supervisor on the scene would make that call, that enough coaxing has happened and that these officers were going to be harnessed in and actually brought to the same level as this girl. But I mean, this is unfolding right before our eyes. You can see she took her socks and shoes off, and she's actually trying to climb even further up the Statue of Liberty. And you can tell now these officers, this is even a more precarious situation. So they are moving in very quickly
And Bryn,
with this girl.
they're moving in quickly right now, and this is getting more dangerous by the second. This woman is attempting to climb the statue. She's taking her shoes and socks off.
Right.
This is something else. Phil Mudd, what is your impression as you're watching this right now? It looks like the officer is trying to talk to her.
Yeah, but they've made a judgment that they can't afford to have her continue to climb. She's putting herself at risk. This is just about closing out the situation. This is ensuring she doesn't slip and fall and kill herself. This is also securing her safety, not just theirs.
154 feet up right now. That's from the base to the pedestal. And unlike those NYPD officers who have harnessing equipment, that I suppose is there, Phil, in case they have a misstep, they somehow fall. That harness equipment is there to make sure that they don't fall and get hurt. But it seems like they're getting much closer, Phil. This is the closest they've been in the last 3 hours. And now she's moving again. She's attempting to go back under the shoe. The picture freezing up there a little bit, Phil. How is this going to play out, do you think? I mean, it seems like she has no choice but to come down.
They got her.
Our Bryn Gingras, we're watching this on a little bit of a delay. We are now watching the live pictures with that delay. We can now see the officers have her. They are now helping her put her shoes back on. It looks as if they may try to put a harness on her. Bryn,
Exactly.
this is such dangerous work.
This is really dangerous work. Again, they practice hours for this, but this is extremely dangerous work. Remember, these officers have been working since 3:15. She's been up there since about then. So not only is it hot, it's tiring. But yes, they were able to get to her, and that's exactly right, Jim. They'll put a harness on her and make sure that they can get her tethered to those ropes, just like the officers. They'll walk her down. Sometimes they even put them in handcuffs right there and then. It's unclear. I don't know about this sort of situation being at the foot of the Statue of Liberty, if that will be safe enough. But we know from experience of climbing on the bridges with these officers that they will actually put them in handcuffs and lead them down in handcuffs. So we'll see if that happens. But certainly she's likely being placed under arrest very soon, if not now. And they will bring her down the same ladder that those officers came up, and then they'll be brought, what I'm told by a source, is to the harbor unit who are standing by there in the water, and she'll likely travel right to where the Staten Island ferry is, and there's a police precinct in there, and that's where they'll process her. But this was certainly a precarious situation, as this woman decided that maybe it was best if she even climbed further. Of course, as you saw, those officers did not want that to happen. But, you know, I want to mention they did try for a long time to coax her down. Hostage negotiation teams were on the scene, and I was told by a source that she was saying she's not going to come down because she wanted to, quote, all the children to be released. Remember, she was part of a anti-immigration group protest that was there earlier this evening or this afternoon. So it's possible once she said that, these officers made that decision to go up there themselves.
Well, they certainly can't allow a protester to go up on the Statue of Liberty. As much as our hearts go out for those kids down on the border, and we certainly want them released as soon as possible and sent back to their parents, you can't have a protester on the Statue of Liberty saying, I'm not coming down until those children are released, because she could be up there for goodness knows how long. Bryn, I'm trying to make sense of these pictures we're looking at right now. It looks like they're restraining the protester to some extent, or perhaps maybe putting a harness on this protester, much in the same way that those police officers have that harness equipment on them, in the event there's some kind of slip up or mishap, or even just, you know, somebody who's been up there for a while and they take a tumble. You want to make sure that harnessing equipment is on that person to make sure this doesn't get any worse.
Exactly right. That's what they're going to do. They're placing multiple harnesses, usually around the legs and also the body. so that she's fully harnessed in. And then what we've experienced when we've trained with them is that they then tether that to the same lines that those two officers are tethered to. And I'm unclear what they're tethered to, whether it be the crown of the Statue of Liberty or the base. But they will, since there's two of them, one will likely walk in front of her, one will likely walk behind her, and they will walk her the same way they just got to her. They'll walk along the edge of the Statue of Liberty and then down that ladder, and then again right down to the base into the boat to bring her to an actual police precinct inside the Staten Island Ferry is what I'm told, although that could change. But yeah, this is all about safety right now. I mean, it's about making sure that she's okay and also that she's safe, but also she's going to be put under arrest. I mean, she put these officers through a lot, Jim, and let's remember, I know you've been saying it, but it's July 4th. We have ESU, other officers of the NYPD already taxed with all the fireworks displays that are going to be happening here in the city. So this really took from resources. I mean, certainly there's a lot of officers here in New York City, a lot of members of the ESU, but certainly this is not something they wanted to have to deal with on such a busy day already.
And it is a reminder, if you're diverting resources from other parts of their operations there on 4th of July, you don't know whether or not you're putting some other situation at risk if officers can't respond to another situation because they've been diverted over here. But Brent, as we're watching this protester apparently being equipped with a harness to make sure this doesn't get any worse, 154 feet from the base of the Statue of Liberty to the pedestal where Lady Liberty stands. Tell us a little bit about the training that these officers go through, as much as you can tell us, to deal with situations like this. My guess is that they're not afraid of heights, that they're used to dealing with this sort of thing.
Yeah, they're not afraid of heights. And listen, we did a training exercise actually climbing to the Brooklyn Bridge with them, which is a higher structure than this, I think almost double this.
Wow.
They deal with this stuff all the time, and they train for this stuff all the time. And it's a combined units. It's not just ESU. You know, they're getting help right now from the aviation unit in the air, who was able to spot her constantly while ESU members were on the side and out of, she was out of their line of sight. It's also the members of the hostage negotiation team that were just there at the pedestal, basically just making phone calls, getting information about this woman, who she was, what she wanted, why she wasn't coming down, sort of her demands, and trying to coax her, which again, as we said, they did for quite a while until they made this sort of decision that they had to go up and actually get her for the safety of everyone. But they climb extremely high structures. They do these rope systems all the time. And in fact, that's probably, if I was to guess, what took the most time, is to actually build this rope system so that they were safe when officers actually were going to get on. And I'll be honest, I put on one of those harnesses myself. They're very heavy and they take a while to put on. I remember when the officer was putting me in one for the bridge climb, it took a good 15 minutes just to get one of those on me. I mean, those really, you are tethered in, you are safe, and we're talking about two officers and now this protester who's going to be attached to one to get down. But that's what they're doing right now. So you can see that's why it's taking a while, because it is such a strong structure that they want to make sure it is safe and working correctly.
Incredible work. And Phil Mudd, when you're negotiating with somebody like this, you obviously have to be talking to that person, reasoning with that person, getting that person comfortable with the fact that the show is over, you're coming down. Can you talk to us a little bit about what these officers may be saying to this person right now to make sure this person doesn't flip out and endanger the whole situation there?
Well, there's a couple things going on. First, keep calm. We're talking about the safe resolution to this. I have another question, whether you get a sense that the person is so mentally unstable that they're going to jump. So the first is, I don't want to agitate this individual. I want to have a calm dialogue that has some sense of reasonableness, and I want to express some sort of sympathy. Whether you want to believe it or not, look, what are you thinking? What's going on in your mind? I can understand how that would concern you. Let's talk about it. But meanwhile, as Bryn was suggesting, as we've talked about, they've got to get a sense of whether she's going to talk through it or whether she's going to stay up there. And if their decision, as Bryn's suggesting, was that she ain't going to move, you can't sit there forever. Last thing I'd say, boy, sigh of relief. What we haven't mentioned is when they're walking over there, my first question is she going to resist? And we didn't see that happen.
Can you do that, Phil? Can you handcuff somebody and equip them with a harness and bring them down involuntarily? That seems to me a very dangerous prospect as we're watching this unfold.
Again, I've got to believe they got a sense for her mentally about whether they were going to face a resistance scenario. But Bryn was also talking about the amount of time it's going to take on that kind of structure to get them harnessed in. So if she does, we're not just talking about potential accident here. We're talking about engaging with a suspect who doesn't want to move. If she does, they're safe. And that had to take them a lot of time. I'm sure that was part of the air gap between when they got up there and when they engaged her. They had to have harnessing that kept them safe.
Okay, well, let's recap for our viewers what they're watching right now. And some of this may be developing as we're talking, so we may have to just describe it as we're seeing it here. But just to recap, about 3.5 hours ago, a protester affiliated with a group protesting the president's immigration policies climbed up onto the Statue of Liberty. We've been watching this rescue operation unfold over the last couple of hours. For a while, police were showing some patience and allowing this person to be up there. They've obviously run out of patience and made the point to this person that they're coming down. It does appear at this point that they're making their way around the base of the Statue of Liberty here on top of the pedestal and using this harness and rope system. It looks like they're trying to maneuver this person over to the point where they can then lower this person down off of the statue and onto the pedestal and then down to safety. Bryn Gingras, as you're watching this unfold, what would you like to add? What are you seeing here? Because it looks like, again, this person was moving. Now this person is stopping. It does not appear that this person, this protester, is a fully cooperative person who is coming down hopefully soon off of this statue.
Right, she's looking like she's making the situation worse for herself is what it looks like to me. She looks a little defiant at this point. You can see, though, as I mentioned before, there's the two officers, one in front who was guiding her at one point, and then the one in back. They don't have her handcuffed, but he's got his hold on her as an extra sort of reinforcement to all those harnesses you can see that she's wearing. Again, she's tethered to those lines, so if there was a slip, she would be on a line. Let's remember that. So she is safe, but he does have his arm there, his hand on her waist, tethered there. But yeah, this is just about now encouraging her, telling her basically this is over and we need to come down safely. And it looks like now finally she's agreeing that maybe it's time. So
looks like she's moving in that direction, doesn't it?
Exactly. And right around the corner, I mean, it's really not too far from where she is. I know we have a close-up shot here.
There are some tight spaces, right, Bryn? I mean, there was some space underneath the foot. But on other parts, if the camera zooms out at some point, you can see it's a little tighter as they move around, so they have to be careful.
Yeah, exactly. And I did talk to a source, Jim, before the officers actually got up there, and we mentioned that second ladder. I was hearing from a source that it was possible they were going to have an officer go around the other side of the Statue of Liberty to actually get her, because she was just not coming to where they needed her to be, to almost sort of block her in and close off each way of running. But it looks like the advantage for these officers at one point was the actual foot of the Statue of Liberty, which was blocking a way for this protester to get around. So it looks like that's why these two officers went this direction. But you know, this is amazing to see these officers working with someone who does seem to be incredibly defiant to their commands, obviously, and trying to get her down. So the next step is going to get her down that same ladder that you see that one officer standing on right now.
Unfortunately, they're getting closer, Bryn, it looks like. What can you tell us, though, about this protester and this group? Because you were making the point earlier, this person wanted to get up there and say, I'm not coming down until all the children are released down on the border due to the president's family separation policy. This person was affiliated with the group. There were some other arrests earlier in the day. What can you tell us?
Yeah, this group is part of Rise and Resist, they call themselves. It's a group that was formed in 2016, direct response to the election. If they're New York based, if you look on their website, they say that they, quote, condemn policies that define current government regime and that they, quote, aim to oust the Trump administration. They showed up to the Statue of Liberty wearing T-shirts that read out "Abolish ICE." There was 8 in all. And then 7 of them were arrested there on the scene, but this 8th protester is the one who went and climbed somewhere. I'm waiting to hear how she actually got up there.
Right.
And the group actually says that they didn't condone that. That was not part of the planned protest. It was done without their knowledge. So the group is really separating themselves from this individual protester. Again, this is something that officers, once she is down and safely and arrested, this is something they're going to talk to her about. How did you get up there?
Right.
Really, because if you remember, someone climbed the Brooklyn Bridge. I'm forgetting the year, but if you remember, someone climbed the Brooklyn Bridge and changed out the American flags that are at the top of the bridge and turned them into white flags. And since then, NYPD has put up these big barriers on either side of the Brooklyn Bridge to prevent that from happening again. So I can imagine after she gets down and has some sort of communication with officers and detectives that there'll be some sort of safeguards put in place around the Lady Liberty there to prevent this from happening again.
And of course, we understand the connection between immigration and the Statue of Liberty. It is the immigrant statue. Even says so on the National Park Service website. It's been a symbol welcoming immigrants to the United States for decades now. Emma Lazarus's poem, The New Colossus, that's affixed to the Statue of Liberty, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. We understand the connection between immigration and the Statue of Liberty. Lady Liberty, foreign birth, French birth, a gift from the nation of France to the United States. We all are very mindful of that, but this person, Phil Mudd, going about it the wrong way because you're just endangering so many people on the 4th of July. Rescuers who are supposed to be there in the harbor keeping the public safe from other things. And now this person is involved in causing a very high-risk, dangerous situation there on the Statue of Liberty. We've never seen anybody really do something like this, climbing up on the Statue of Liberty that we know of. Obviously, we can go back and search our archives and see if something similar has happened. But we don't recall anything really like this happening.
And I think it's going to turn out to be people who want to gain attention turn out to be monumentally stupid. Look, we go back a week, and if you look at, to make this political for just a second, because it is a political protest, if you go back a week, there's a conversation about women and children and separate them. The conversation then shifts to abolish ICE, and I think a lot of people like me are saying, excuse me, ICE is simply executing the policy of a president who was duly elected by the American people. The President of the United States, I can't get in his brain, I don't want to, but I guarantee you he's going to say, I told you so. These people
He's going to seize on this.
He's going to seize on this and say, these people want law enforcement eliminated. They want open borders. They want criminals from Mexico in this country. As much as these people might have had an idea that they could succeed, this is going to be an epic failure. By the way, I also hope they get to pay for this. You know how expensive this stuff is? They just cost us and New Yorkers a ton of money, not only in what this is costing today, but in additional security measures you're going to have to put around the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, because these special rescuers, I mean, they're on standby, obviously, for something like this to happen, but they may not have been on duty. Not all of them may have been on duty for something like this, but they have to spring into action, put down their barbecue at whatever family get-together they're at, and jump in a car and race over to the Statue of Liberty, which obviously takes time and manpower and resources. This is a hugely costly operation for the city of New York and all these agencies that are involved in this.
Sure, and the after action you have to go through at the NYPD and elsewhere, people on the island are going to have to say, do we have to put physical barriers in place to stop this? Future tourists who want to see the Statue of Liberty, it's our statue. Are you going to have to put sort of restrictions on how they move?
And remember how long it was closed
After
in the post 9/11 days, as they were trying to provide additional security there. You don't want somebody doing something like this and causing other security measures there that make it a difficult experience when people go to the statue. Okay, obviously this is now developing to a situation where it appears this protester has come to her senses and she is now coming down the Statue of Liberty. She has that harness attached to her at this point, something she didn't have when she first climbed up onto the statue. And it now looks like there's an officer, there's a rescuer underneath her. And almost 4 hours now since this whole saga began. And it seems that this protester is now willingly cooperating with authorities and climbing down that that ladder there to get down to the base of the statue. Bryn Gingras, if I can bring you back in, tell us what you're seeing right now, what your impressions are. It does look like we're getting closer to the end.
We are, Jim, and I actually just learned from a source. The person in charge there is a member who was actually part of the Puerto Rico rescue efforts. This supervisor from the Emergency Services Unit actually went to Puerto Rico, was part of those relief efforts, was part of the crew that would create these rope systems to get across flooded rivers to get to people and get them relief packages. So it kind of speaks to the pulley system we're seeing here. I mean, or not pulley rather, but the rope system you're seeing there, how elaborate it is. You can imagine how long it took to build that on a Statue of Liberty in order to make sure that those officers could safely get to her and then safely get her down. And a little while ago, we actually saw those officers putting her harness to a rope system, a vertical rope system, when before she was attached to almost the officer. So then she was attached to a new rope, if you can sort of see it.
Yeah, we certainly can.
So it's a constant, you know, attaching and reattaching to ropes as they move her along safely along this. But yeah, we're just seconds away from her safely being on ground. And you can see all those officers there with the blue helmets. That's the ESU. These are the officers that did it.
Bren, it looks like we are getting close to the conclusion of all this. Thank goodness, a safe conclusion.
Yeah.
And Phil Mudd, as you're looking at this, any final thoughts? As we're going to be going to break here in just a few seconds.
Boy, I just have to tell you, watching the courage of people in Annapolis, Maryland, just a few days ago, who stepped over and didn't know how many people were in that building and had the courage to save. The courage of these officers. I'm going to go home, have a drink, and celebrate July 4th. I am proud to be an American. These guys were great.
We're so proud of our first responders in this country, and this is another shining example of, you don't think about it every day, but police officers, firefighters, rescuers such as these, they put their lives on the line each and every day. Just an amazing effort. This took place over 4 hours, nearly 4 hours since this protester climbed up onto the Statue of Liberty. Obviously a symbol to the world that we welcome immigrants in this country no matter who's in the White House. But thank goodness this is coming to a safe conclusion here on the 4th of July. We're going to have much more on the breaking news. Stick with us. We'll be right back.